Hope everybody's doing okay. This is Slaves of Satan, part 34. And I'm sorry for taking so long to upload again. I was very, very sick the past 5 days, and my health conditions acting up, and my head was throbbing for over 100 hours, and my neck was killing me too. But hopefully I can edit this somewhat fast and have it out by tomorrow or the next day. So, Marjorie Cameron, and like I said, 2 videos ago, these couple episodes in one way or another overlaps with one another, while the L. Ron Hubbard video kind of had more in common with the Jack Parsons video. I would say Marjorie Cameron, her whole story, not that it was remarkable, has less to do with Jack Parsons and more to do with herself and whatever the hell you would want to call her career. So she's known for being an artist, a poet, actress, an occultist, a follower of Thelema and Aleister Crowley. And that's something that you see in pretty much every single person. They were either inspired by Crowley, Helena Blavatsky, or they're a damn Freemason. I think so far everyone in this series is one of those things, if not multiple. She was a follower of the new religious movement, a Thelemite, and she married Jack Parsons. She was also in the Navy and at the Second World War. Then she moved to Pasadena, California, to meet Jack Parsons. And the basic, like, Wikipedia stuff, they'll tell you that they met, but they won't tell you the why or the how. Jack Parsons claimed that after he got back home from doing those hideous Babylon working rituals, that she was there. And then Marjorie Cameron, she made the claim that she saw a flying saucer that led her over to the house. And I do find her testimony to probably be true, because up until those Babylon working rituals, it was very rare to see the UFOs. And I know I've been saying this on the last 4 videos, but I'm reiterating it again. We went from almost no sightings with a 100-year gap, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, hundreds just start popping up everywhere. And if you want the answers to this stuff, you have to study these type of people. Now I've had accusations made on me for being an occultist. I'm obviously not, but there's a big difference between somebody that studies the occult and somebody that does abominable acts. Now, so when they got to our house, they had sex for 2 weeks straight, and he believed that she could birth a moon child if he could get her pregnant. We'll get to that here in a little bit. I have a lot of material. So she was believed to be the elemental woman and invoked the babalon. She claimed to be the elemental woman and invoked the babalon working ritual. And because no one on here knows me in person, I could see where people would think that I'm just some random conspiracy theorist, but that's not the case at all. I can provide physical or at least visual evidence of everything that I claim. And if I can't prove it, I'll say it myself that it might be true or it might not be true. But I think it makes sense. Now, after the death of Parsons, she would regularly astral project to speak to his spirit. Okay, so this thing about speaking to spirits, there's only one way that you can speak to someone, and that is if that person went so far down the satanic path that they lost their humanity. They lost what made them man or woman. Like people that cross the abyss on the tree of life, or people that go very deep into the tree of death. But what I'm getting at is, it is possible to become something other than human, and we have evidence of this in the book of Enoch, a wonderful book. Because, for example, the women that voluntarily slept with the fallen angels, they were turned into sirens, which is the more official term for a mermaid. So, and they lost their humanity when they had sex with these beings. And it's not up to me to talk about what is the point of no return, because I have heard of people that were ex-vampires, ex-werewolves, and all kinds of crazy stuff, and they not claim them, they proclaimed that they lost all the power overnight that they've been harnessing for 30, 40 years, and Christ came into their life. Because I'm a firm believer in God can save anyone. Our Lord Yeshua can save anyone, but once you become something that is no longer man or woman, and I'm not talking about transgender stuff right now. That's a whole nother just ridiculous, stupid topic. I'm talking about if somebody claims that they made it high enough on the tree of life to become a ascended master or a secret chief. That's the only way that it would be possible to speak to a dead person, because every spirit that people talk to when their spouse dies is what you call a familiar spirit, which is demons that masquerade as a loved one to trick you into talking to him, to doing things for him. So it's one of the other in Marjorie Cameron's case. Now, after the death, wait, no. She then moved to Beaumont, California, and started the Children cult. The goal was to create mixed moon silds devoted to Horus. So what she means there is that the goal of the cult was to take mixed races of any kind, and have them sleep with each other. So like have an Asian sleep with an Indian, have someone from Nigeria sleep with somebody from Russia, have somebody from Australia sleep with someone from Bangladesh. Pretty much that is what it was. And the Moon Child, and there's Aleister Crowley has a book called Moon Child. But the goal was to birth antichrists, because a lot of people don't know this because the church don't teach them, but there already has been, and there will continue to be many antichrists until the end of time. There's going to be many, many, many lesser antichrists until the final one. Then the cult quickly failed. Then she moved to L.A. Then began to be friends with Kenneth Anger. Now, I've spoken about him a few times. He needs a video all of his own. He's scum. He's a proud Satanist. Has Lucifer tattooed right across him. He's made very horrible, satanic, evil movies. Now, Cameron, she appeared in The Wormwood Star and Night Tide, as well as the inauguration of the Pleasure Dome. Now, growing up, she had many sexual partners. So she was hoeing around all the way back then, since she was a teenager. And her mom performed home abortions. Then in 1940, Cameron moved to Iowa. So see, what people don't realize is the reason the abortion rights are pushed so much is not because women want to get rid of their babies and not have to raise a kid. Now, for some people, that is the reason, but for most people in the occult that aren't occultists, when they get an abortion, they do it in a way to give a sacrifice or an offering to whatever false god they're serving. like when you see protests about abortion clinics, groups that you'll always see outside of there is Wiccan groups, or just different Satanist groups, all that junk, because it's a very sacred thing, but sacred in a very horrible way. And see, when you get these abortions, you get them the same way they did in in the Bible, and in the days of ancient, they use suction, and a lot of times they become dismembered, and I would have to double check on this, but I believe fire, like burning, is a part of it too. So that you can tie that in with Moloch. When in the Navy, she was a cartographer, meaning someone that makes maps. She also met Winston Churchill in 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 1943. Sorry about that. Now, Winston Churchill was also a 33rd degree Mason. Then she moved to Anacostia, D.C., and she went AWOL and received an honorable discharge in 1945. Her father and brothers worked for JPL. Yeah, so that's another thing. When people see JPL, they really think that it means Jet Propulsion Laboratories. That's the esoteric. I mean, that's the exoteric meaning that the Hierophants tell the common folk. But I'm not a common folk, so I'll tell you what it actually means. It means Jack Parsons Laboratories, because think of how much they revere this man. Now all this space stuff is nonsense, but they're never gonna give up. They'll never do it, but they will never give up. And if it was not for Jack Parsons, we probably would not have even ever created a rocket. But I mean, Jack Parsons Laboratories. And the word NASA means, in Hebrew, means lie, by the way. Well, beguiled in the Bible translates to NASA. The whole thing is a joke. The logo, their fake stories, all of it. So then she moved in with Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard. Now, before she showed up, Parsons used Enochian magic. Now, I eventually, well, and actually probably in the next 3 or 4 videos, I want to go over this Enochian magic, who was founded by John Dee and Edward Kelly, because I don't know how many people practice this that's into stuff like that, but it is unbelievably dangerous. So I feel led to put a big warning about that online, because you have all these damn tutorials telling you how to do all these different magic spells and they don't tell you the consequences. It's terrible. Like I said, Jack Parsons believed Cameron to be the elemental one because of her red hair and blue eyes. And like I said, they had sex for 2 weeks in an attempt to evoke the Thelema goddess Babylon and to produce a moon child. Cameron was not awake, was not aware it was a sex magic ritual. So he got her doing OTO sex magic rituals without even telling her. See how horrible that man was. Like there's no defending him. Now, during a trip to New York City to visit a friend, she discovered she was pregnant. And want to guess what she did again? Have an abortion. And I don't think her religion never saying so. That to her that means, yay. I got pregnant. I can go sacrifice my kid now. That's what people like her think. Like, I would tell everybody, if you want to understand why these people do the things they do, say the things they say, and act the way they act, try to put your mind into their perspective. Maybe it's just something I'm just happen to be good at. I don't know, but it helps tremendously. Now, while Parsons started to date L. Ron Hubbard's girlfriend, Cameron then drew a picture of Parsons' girlfriend with her legs severed below the knee. L. Ron Hubbard then scanned Parsons, and he had to sell his mansion. I went over that in detail in the last 2 videos. Clagus said there's some overlap, but stick with it, and there's a lot more new content. When Cameron and Parsons moved to Manhattan Beach, LA, they married on October 19th, 1946. Parsons saved her magical name, Candia, also known as Candy. So, I've talked about this before, but I'll reiterate it in case someone's new to the channel. In these high-level occult societies, you at some point you're usually given what they call a magical name, and you're not supposed to reveal that magical name to anybody or face severe consequences. And they're very serious about what they say. Alright, so Nancy's traveled to Paris in winter 1947 to meet Aleister Crowley, then found out that he just died. Cameron soon developed catalepsy, which is like just where you twitch real bad constantly. Parsons had recommended that she read Sylvan Muldoon's books on astral projection, as well as James Fraser's The Golden Bow, Heinrich Zimmer's The King and the Corpse, and Joseph Campbell's The Key with the Thousand Faces. Cameron then began very interested with using tarot cards. Cameron soon met artist Renee Dukes, who she became friends with. She was also a Thelemite and a follower of Crowley as well. Then she moved in with a woman in Redondo Beach, L.A. In March 1951, Parsons and Cameron moved to South Orange Grove. Parsons then began working at the Burmite Powder Company. Cameron started producing illustrations for fashion magazines and selling paintings. They planned to leave for New Mexico. The day before leaving, Parsons died in an explosion in his lab. And I don't know where I heard this, but whoever was talking about it was a pretty reputable person. They claimed that Jack Parsons died because he was trying to create a homunculi in there, and the alchemical process went wrong to create the homunculi, and he just dropped dead and died after the explosion. Then the other story is that somebody that he snitched on and then got out. The guy got out of jail recently, and people think that he killed him. Then there's other opinions thinking that the CIA or FBI killed him because he knew too much. In my opinion, I think it was probably by accident. Wait, no, I would have to say that the guy that just got out of prison after being snitched on probably did it. If I would have to guess. And see, this is how God does things. He does not let things get so bad to where it will just ruin everyone's life. If he would have lived, he would have been the next Aleister Crowley. Is like his book his memoir called The Antichrist. It's unbelievable how evil some of the stuff is in there. And he also baptized himself as the Antichrist. And like I said, keep in mind that he did claim to cross the abyss.
Now, while in Mexico, Cameron started performing blood rituals in hope of communication with Parsons. She slashed her own wrists, then claimed to receive a new magical identity known as Hilarion. And back to what I was saying about people that take it so far that they no longer are even man or woman. This is an example because, and this is a while after her death. It was not before her death. And I've talked about these things many times. But there's an ascended master called Hilarion, or Hilarion, depending on how you want to pronounce it. So it's possible that she could have crossed the abyss or gone down to the tree of death. But this is the thing that I want to reiterate. It does not matter if you go all the way to the top of the tree of life or go all the way down to the tree of death and cross the abyss, because just they might be escaping their death now. They might be doing things like trading souls or finding ways to come back, but they will still get punished just the exact same way that they would have if they would have if they would have died in the regular format. They'll get it just the same way, maybe even worse. It's hard to really tell. Now, she also claimed the UFOs flying over the D.C. Capitol. She claimed it to be Jack Parsons. It's one of the more famous UFO sightings. I'll put it up there. Now, 2 months later, she moved back to California and embraced the beliefs of Jack Parsons after she attempted suicide. She then believed that she was Babylon incarnate, and she believed Parsons was murdered and continued to astral project to communicate with his spirit. And like I said, there's only two options. Either he was something that was not a regular man or woman, or she was talking to a familiar spirit. And like people need to talk about stuff like this. Christians need to talk about stuff like this. Like yes, the Bible speaks against man and woman going to the Lord or going to a bad place when they die. That is the Christian doctrine for man and women. But once you go to that point to where you're no longer man or woman, then you can't escape death for a little bit. And no one wants to, the second you use the word reincarnation, they'll call you a heretic, da-da-da-da-da. But the people that are reincarnating, like all these celebrities that have lookalikes from the past, they're not reincarnated. They're not exactly reincarnating the way that the Hindus believe. They pretty much plan in advance how they're gonna do it, whose body they're gonna use, what type of vessel will they have, stuff like that. Like if you just look up celebrity lookalikes from the past, it's unbelievable. But you never see somebody look that close to people in real life. I've even seen people examine it, and like right there, like little moles and stuff will be on their face in the exact same area. It's really wild. But also in the Book of Enoch, like I said, the women, they became sirens. And I'm not completely claiming this for that to be true. Like I want to go teach it, but I think it's um a high probability that they are, because there's just so many that all look alike, and they're all related to each other. They all have these same bloodlines. So I am personally believe I do believe in that doctrine personally, but I would never argue with somebody over it. I don't really believe in arguing over doctrine unless it's something very important. She then moved in with Wilfred Talbot Smith. In December 1952, Cameron moved to Beaumont, California. She then created her satanic sex cult known as the Children. So now you have another one. You have this popping up now. I gave a very vague description at the beginning, but this is more in detail. She then created her satanic sex cult known as the Children, devoted to Horus, with the goal to making mixed race moon solids, so mixed antichrists. She became pregnant and called her child the Wormwood. Which ended in a miscarriage. And see, people need to realize that these figures from the past, they were legitimately evil. Like, why would you call your child something that's gonna come down and poison I believe it's 1/3 of the water. I believe that's the one I believe that's what wormwood is for. Yeah, it is. Now, only someone that's evil would name their kid that. Alright, so NMS miscarriage. She claimed a race war was coming, and Mexico would conquer the U.S. and take that flying saucers would rescue her and her cult and take them to Mars. So, as ridiculous as some of this stuff sounds, it's actually to them completely normal, and because they're connected to this in the same way, because Marjorie Cameron knew him. I am making a video on a video on shoot, I'm trying to remember the first one. I remember the last name. I think it's like George Adamski, maybe, and then also George Van Tassel. I want to lay it out with all them with them too, because they're connected to her, and George Van Tassel was connected to Crowley in his own way. During rituals, her and her cult use marijuana. Like I was talking, marijuana is always used in these satanic rituals. I'm thinking about making a whole video about the demonology of marijuana. Yeah, so marijuana, peyote, and magic mushrooms. In June 1953, she attended a LA speech by Gerald Hurd about mind-expanding drugs. She became friends with the Thelemite Jane Wolfe. High-ranking OTO member Carl Germer deemed her as insane. Alright, so this is how bad she must have been. So you're somebody that is in the Ortho Temple Orientis, the OTO, and I'm going to reiterate it in case this is the first time somebody's seen my videos. Some of the horrible stuff that the OTO does for their rituals is do things like spit on the cross, completely pervert the Last Supper, they'll put human parts in the wafer, and this is pretty graphic, but the main thing when it comes to the wafer, the main ingredient that needs is fecal matter. So if you're thinking about joining the OTO, then that's something that you're going to have to deal with. And the blood, and the wine, well, it's supposed to be organic grape juice or pure alcohol, wine with all the what's it called? I don't know anything about alcohol. But anyways, the way wine is supposed to be at Holy Communion is supposed to be the kind of wine that has no alcohol in it, because Jesus did not use miracles to change the water into wine. Christians like to use that as an excuse to drink, and I can prove it. But that's just too much right now. But anyway, so you have someone like the wine, instead of using regular wine, they use menstrual blood for the communion, and it's just a place where you just go worship the devil, worship the false pagan gods, specifically the Egyptian ones, and just all that junk. So if Carl Germer, a very high-ranking OTO member, thought that C was insane, think how bad it actually was. So after using I Ching divination, C moved to LA. So I gotta put a picture up there to explain what it is. Um, but it's very dangerous. You got to really watch some of this like Chinese and Japanese witchcraft type stuff. So after moving to LA like I Ching told her to, she was then arrested for drugs. She later met Kenneth Anger and started the inauguration of the Pleasure Dome. After seeing the film, Kenneth Grant asked Cameron to move to London to join the new ISIS OTO lodge. Cameron never responded. And for people that don't know who Kenneth Grant is, he was the successor to Aleister Crowley. Crowley left the OTO in the hands of Kenneth Grant. Now, they didn't really accept that very, very kindly, and someone else ended up running things, but he still kept the OTO going, but he renamed it the Typhonian OTO because it was more focused on the secret chiefs. And just like Crowley, he's a writer, has a bunch of books out into Egyptology, all that stuff. Now, Cameron entered a relationship with Serdian Kimmel. He began to be jealous over the grip Parsons still had on her, and destroyed the Babylon working rituals notes. Cameron gave birth to a daughter on Christmas Eve 1955, but was unsure to who the father was. So we see about 20 years later, since he was a teenager, I suppose, she was whoring around then, and she was whoring around then, and she was whoring around at this present time that I'm speaking of. Now, in 1956, Cameron's first art exhibition was held at Walter Hop's studio in Brentwood. Several paintings caught fire and was destroyed, and thank God, because things like that can hold a lot of power. And I'm not talking about things that's made in a factory and there's hundreds of thousands in circulation and all that. Now, obviously, things like the Ouija board, that's evil, no matter how you look at it. But what you gotta watch out for is this stuff that's one of a kind products, like for example, a book about black magic that was handwritten and not mass produced. That's something you have to watch out for. Or mirrors inside your home you should anoint. Because mirrors is one of the main ways that witches travel. And same thing with our TVs. Our TVs do the same thing. Because they're technically a mirror. We should pray over the TVs too, and every screen in the house. And I think it's possible God could have made that fire to burn a lot of her paintings, because it's obvious from looking at them that they're highly, highly charged. A lot of them you can't. I could not even put on YouTube because they're just so provocative. Now, Wallace Berman used a picture of her own on the first volume of his art journal, Semena. The volume also included Cameron's drawing Peyote Vision. This artwork was showcased at Berman's 1957 exhibition. The gallery was raided by the police over claims of Cameron's art being porn. And people don't realize this. Porn was not a thing back then, unless it was from like some underground black market. Everyone I tell gets very surprised when I tell them this, but porn was illegal until I think 73. And I have a whole video on the man that started the push for porn. He died before it became fulfilled, I believe, but it was him and his fraudulent work that made it possible. And like I said, I have a video up about him. I think it might be part 11 or something. It's the one about Alfred Kinsey. That's what it's. That's the one that it is. Now, in late 1957, Marjorie Cameron moved to San Francisco and started dating Bert Sonbergs. And moved to Joshua Tree, California. They then started studying ufology and became friends with George Van Tassel, who is a very, very big name that started all this UFO stuff that's being even more prominent today. Now, I'm not sure who I'll cover first, because there's George Adamski, who claimed to be contacted by Orthon and I think that happened in 51. And then a couple years later, George Van Tassel the had the Astar Command revelation, but they're all linked to this Babylon working, and Cameron and Parsons, Crowley, all of them. I think I'll probably do George Van Tassel first because he's caught up in this web. Now, after Marjorie Cameron's ex got out of jail in 1954, they started dating again and got married. And then they got divorced less than a year later. Then in 1960, she appeared in The Night Tide. Cameron then moved to Venice, LA. The local art shop showcased her work. Kenneth Anger then moved in with her until early 1964. In 1964, she was later introduced to Anton LaVey. And I haven't really got close to the chronological order to cover him yet at all. But a lot of people, because this is what they tell people on the outside and the low-ranking members, because it goes by 5 degrees, because they tell everybody that they do not worship the devil, that they just view the devil as an archetype, and that they join it for freedom of religion. Or they view every religion as like slavery, but that's not the actual truth. Anton LaVey, and this is based off of interviews from many people, that I believe Joe Schimmel was the one who interviewed them, or Susan Atkins from the Manson family murders. She was wrapped up with Anton LaVey, and she said that once you get to the high ranks, you do worship Satan for real. And she also said that when other Satanists would like get on his case for not even believing in the devil, he would kind of lose his temper, and he would admit that he does worship the devil, but if he tells everybody that he does, his money will start going down, because he liked money a lot. Then shortly after, Cameron starts taking Tai Chi, which it used to be more of a martial art, but now it's used more for meditation. Not meditation, more for relaxation techniques. But I suppose you could say meditation as well. And see, what this is something that almost no one talks about at all. Like, all this alternative medicine stuff that comes from overseas is satanic. So, see, in Asia, like Japan, China, Thailand, like all the major ones, they believe in a concept called meridian gates, which is kind of like their form of chakra, but they talk about the chakra too. Now, doing this Tai Chi is very, very dangerous and very demonic because you're letting your body potentially become a vessel for some type of demonic entity. Because once your mind is completely cleared and you have nothing to stop the thoughts that flow in, even if you don't feel the thoughts going in, they're going in. And it's all martial arts is not good. I'll eventually do a really long video about it and explain it in more detail. And she was also into neo-shamanism, and shamanism is where you are the person conjuring up different spirits of people that's dead. And like I said, there's only one way that somebody could not have just gone straight to one place or the other. But I think very few people have ever achieved that, or unless if the technology that the hierarchy holds is so good that they can just do that with like it's nothing. And like I said, the shamanism, you're just calling up familiar spirits to trick you and give you false comfort. Or I go as far as to not even talk at my mom's gravestone, because I feel like that is opening a door. So I would say don't walk around and say Sabrina, I miss you so much. Why do you have to go? Why do you have to go? It wasn't your time yet. Like, see, stuff like that is unbelievably dangerous to do. Now, Cameron also met William Breeze, who now, at the current time of speaking, he is now the leader of the Ortho Temple Orientis, the OTO. And he also met Genesis P. Orange. Now Genesis P. Orange, that's somebody that's gonna come later in this series as well. But she's trans. I believe it was from man to woman. So she's a transformer, and basically, her and her whatever it is, would start doing plastic surgery to attempt to look exactly the same. It's very, very strange and odd. And she channeled a over 600-page book called the Psychic Bible. That's an expansion on the teachings of Aleister Crowley. And she also started a cult, or I don't know if it would be considered a religious group or not. I don't think so. She started a cult called the Temple of Psychic Youth. But there'll be a lot more on her to come. Now, Cameron died at 73 and underwent the thelemic last rites, which is where you get cremated and they just throw your ashes over to in the desert. Now, her popularity grew in 1995 when her art was shown at the Whitney Museum of American Art. Her work was also shown in 2001 at the Reflections of a New Eon event, some stupid Crowley event, at 11/7's Gallery. In 2006, the Parsons Cameron Foundation was started. So see how much life changed. Look. So in the in the 60s, you had her. Wait. Let's see what exact day it is. I have it here. All right, so in 1957, the police raided the gallery because her art was considered porn. And now you get to 95, and no one cares that it's completely evil, disgusting, and pornographic material. It's being shown at every place like it's no issue. So what I'm saying is, no matter how horrible of a person Aleister Crowley was, it was a prophetic manuscript, and I don't like having to admit that. Of course, I hate that it's a prophetic manuscript, but you can't just continue with saying that it's not. Because every day people are getting just more and more desensitized to all this stuff. Now in 2007, Cameron's art was shown at Nicole Klagsburg Gallery. Later that year, her art was shown at Semina Culture in 2008. Cameron's art, Dark Angel, was featured on Center George's Pompidou. In 2014, her art songs for the Witch Woman was shown at the Museum of Contemporary Art. I pray that no woman ever looks at somebody like this as a role model. Looks to me, with all the evidence, looks like she had a hatred for God until the day she died. When I first started researching this stuff, I couldn't believe the type of stuff that's been going on for the past 150 years. And I've traced it all back to these people and linking it together. And I would imagine that you're seeing the connection too, as I hope you are. Now, before closing, I do want to mention one other claim. There was a claim that, and I can't prove that it's true. No one else really spoke on it. And Jack Parsons' mom committed suicide the second she She learned what happened. She swallowed a huge amount of pills, barbiturates, I believe. But Jack Parsons allegedly told his mother that the miscarriage they had with Cameron was actually still alive, and it survived um whatever they did to it. Rather they aborted it or tried to get it out early, but basically he said that the child um lived. Now you can take that or leave it, because there's no proof of it. So would I teach it? No, but I would tell everybody all possibilities so they can make their own choice. Because I'm not a strict dogmatic person that wants everyone to believe the exact way I do. Um, and think the exact way I do, act how I do. I believe in individuality, but everybody needs to come to Christ if they want to go to heaven. I hope you have a good rest of the night.